Namaste to all of you. So we have been discussing the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, obviously. Our discussions are based on the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So our discussion last week, we discussed about the structure of suffering. Suffering is a construct as well as knowledge. Knowledge also is a construct, something constructed by the human mind. Since they are constructed by the human mind, it can be deconstructed also. That's the beauty of that. And according to Patanjali or Lord Krishna or Buddha, ultimately we all suffer. That's a fact. There's no dispute about that. Buddha said, Dukkham Dukkham, we have seen it last time. Krishna said, Dukkhalayam, Ashashvatam, this world is a torture chamber, let us say, Dukkhalayam. Bhagavad Gita also says that. So, Buddha, Bhagavad Gita and Patanjali. Patanjali also says, Dukkhameva sarvam viveginam. If you're an intelligent person, you see only suffering. You see only Ukraine these days, isn't it? On the TV. There's nothing else. That's all what you see. And even little bit of pleasures we get in between. Also, Bhagavad Gita says, they are seeds of future suffering. Ye samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate adyantavanta kaudeya nadeshuramade buddha. Even little bit of suffering we get. Joys we get is the seeds of future suffering. So Patanjali is a little cynical or pessimistic, though he is realistic also. It's a realistic assessment of human life. He is not building an idealistic utopia. Nor is he building a dystopia. He is telling you the truth. So this dukkha, it requires our understanding. Otherwise, we will be trying to remove the dukkha. The more you try to remove, the more suffering you get. So you have to remove the dukkha in a certain way. That's what Patanjali is going to discuss with us. So both the knowledge that we have created, vast inventory of knowledge that we have created. Libraries, research centers, all kind of knowledge we have created. All these are created in the field of ignorance. Avidya kshetram vittaresham. Avidya is the field in which this knowledge is constructed. Avidya, ignorance. In ignorance is the field where the suffering also happens. They are constructs of the mind, the chitta. Patanjali used the word chitta. So there is one sutra in Patanjali Yoga Sutras analyzing the nature of dukkha. He says, avidya, asmida, ragadvesham, abhinivesham. Avidya, that fundamental ignorance. What is avidya? Forgetting who we are. Our nature is nitya sukha suji, sukha atma. Our nature is pure happiness, consciousness, love. You have forgotten that. Why did we forget? God alone knows. But that's what has happened. Our nature is happiness, you are seeking happiness. Our nature is love, you are seeking love. Our nature is consciousness, but you behave like an automatic. Mechanically. Is it not so? So this is the kind of ignorance Patanjali is talking about, or Bhagavad Gita is talking about. So within that field, so avidya, then asmida, then you identify with the tools. What are the tools? body, mind, ego, these tools are, you identify with it. Just as you identify with your car or a computer. And when that happens, then there is ragadvesha. You like, you dislike. Certain things you like, you want to grab, certain things you want to avoid. Then extreme identification with the body. Abhinivesham, Patanjali says. So you constrict yourself to the limited body. Body is only a tool for it. It's a hardware. And mind, intellect, etc. is the software. And you are the programmer. But the medium distorts the message. Isn't it? That's what happens. So Patanjali uses these four. These are the key 5 words. Avidya, asmida, ragadvesham, abhinivesham. That is the factors which contribute to the construction of suffering, dukkha. Similarly, Patanjali also talked about knowledge. How do you create knowledge? You moved away from nature, prakriti, to society, social living, vikriti. From prakriti, we moved to vikriti. Natural life, we moved into social life, socialized life. And from vikriti, we have to move to samskriti. That's what we are trying to do. So, prakriti, vikriti, samskriti. That we'll see how to make that migration from prakriti, we have moved to vikriti, from vikriti to samskriti. How to do that? We will be seeing it. So the knowledge making we are still in the field of ignorance, because we are seeing only a part of the reality and creating knowledge. So in knowledge construction, there are 3 factors. One is chitta, consciousness. The other is chittam, the mind. Mind has got, of course, buddhi, manaha, ahangaram, etc. The chitta. And then the vishaya, the objects outside. So these are the 3 factors in knowledge making. But unfortunately, the first factor is ignored. Consciousness is ignored. Only the mind, chittam, and the vishaya is highlighted. That's the way I say all our knowledge is constructed in the field of ignorance or mithya, avidya or mithya. That's why earlier I said our knowledge, whether it is hard science, physics, biology, or chemistry, or soft science like economics or sociology or whatever, or even humanities, all this knowledge is organized ignorance. There is a tremendous organization, but it's all ignorant because you are ignoring the fundamental basic fact of your being, yourself. As a result of that, so chitta, they are different. Chitta is consciousness, chittam is the mind, and the vishaya, the object. So Patanjali uses certain sutras. He says, Drik drishyayoho uparektam chittam sarvartham. Drik drishyayoho uparektam chittam. Chitti is uparektam, colored by, flavored by. Drikka and drishyam. Drikka is consciousness. Drishya is the objects outside. Both of them color the chitta, the mind. And then you have the experience. I see the pot, I see the tree, I see the star, I see my child, I see my wife, I see my enemy. All this knowledge. And then you create further knowledge about that. All these knowledge, pieces of knowledge, is a result of chitta, drikka, and drishyam, vishaya, combining and flavoring the mind, coloring the mind. That's a very beautiful sutra by Patanjali. I read it once again. Drik drishyayoho uparaktam chittam sarvartham. And here, the drishyam is constantly changing and drikka doesn't change. That is the way memory is possible. Because there is something which continues in this enterprise. Otherwise, memory is not possible. If consciousness also change, where will you store the memories? Memory is not possible. So memory is possible because Patanjali says, Chidehe apradisangramayaha. Because the chitta doesn't change. Apradisangra. Pradisangra means keep on changing. Apradisangramayaha. Tadagara buddha subuddhi samvedanam. And the chitta identifying with the buddhi or reflecting on the buddhi becomes capable of knowing things. That is Patanjali's understanding of knowledge, or what you call pratyayas, cognitive episodes. When I say, I see the tree is the Vishaya, mind, and the Chitta, consciousness. So the mind mediates between consciousness and the material world. I hope I am clear about that. Mind mediates. Consciousness we ignore. World we give importance. The foundation is missed. Without the foundation, you are building the first floor, second floor, third floor, etc. That kind of edifice won't stand the scrutiny. So these two sutras are very important as far as knowledge making is concerned. That sutra is very important. What is the sutra? Avidya, asmida, ragadvesham, abhinivesham, kleshaha. Patanjali uses the word klesha for it. That is the structure of suffering. These understandings are very, very important if we are to understand why we are suffering. Now, as a result of that, we create the knowledge, and this knowledge becomes hegemonistic knowledge, because knowledge is always about the other, not about you. That's the funny part of it. My knowledge is always about, I know a lot of things about the other, because we have a long nose. We put our nose in everything, isn't it? So I know everything about the other, but nothing about my true nature. So this knowledge about the other, that is whether it's economics or history or sociology or anthropology, everything is knowledge about the other. This is chemistry, etc. And this knowledge I would call a knowledge without the knowledge of the self. I would call it hegemonistic knowledge. It leads to control, power, exploitation, slavery, racism, casteism. All this defect that we see in the society is because of this kind of a knowledge. A knowledge created by the unhappy individual, the ignorant individual. So it is hegemonistic, not a harmonious knowledge. It doesn't create any harmony. It creates only power structures. Isn't it? Also, this knowledge is capitalistic. Accumulation of wisdom, knowledge, power, money, technology. Not communistic. Sorry for using that word. I didn't find any better word. Communistic means we think communally, together. Not exploit the other, but incorporate the other. I would call it communistic knowledge, not capitalistic. And thirdly, it also leads to unhealthy competition, competitive knowledge. So this knowledge leads to just eat, mate and fight. That's it. That's what you're doing now. Nothing more than that. So it leads to competitive, unhealthy competition rather than collaboration and cooperation. And also it leads to consumerism. And I have been dealing on this in many of my lectures. Leads to consumerism, not conservatism. You have to conserve, not consume. That is sustainable consumption, it's conservatism. So these are the defects of this kind of knowledge we are creating. So this is a healthy critique of modern knowledge-making enterprise. Patanjali, 2000 years ago, he created the healthy critique. Does that mean we should not have any of this knowledge? No. We can have this knowledge, create this knowledge, provided you understand the basis of everything, provided you have the understanding of the self, consciousness, awareness, love, happiness. Without that, this knowledge is not going to give any benefit. What we create is only atom bombs, hydrogen bombs, and surveillance systems to exploit humanity. This knowledge, we have come to the end, we have come to a Adhisatana. You cannot progress with this knowledge any further. It is time for a collective and individual reflection, what Patanjali said. That is why we come to the yoga, not bhoga. From bhoga, we are moving to yoga now. We have walked a long distance into the territory of bhoga. Now it is time for us to take an about turn and come to yoga. So we are talking about a yoga culture, and we are tired and fed up with the bhoga culture. You know the Ramayana story, Ravana with the 10 heads, 20 hands, grabbing everything. He cannot share anything with anybody. That kind of a culture is called a bhoga culture. Now let us move to the yoga. So where do we start is the question. So this dukkha, we have to do something about that. And whatever we do now doesn't lead anywhere. As though we have fallen into a tar pit. The more we try to get out, the deeper you go into the pit. That is the situation now. And we are doing a lot of work, effort, collectively, individually, policy, decision, and all that. But we are not able to get out of this situation. So what should I do? So we are in a cul-de-sac, a dead end, between the devil and the deep sea. And I don't know. That's why we now let us move into the yoga mat. Right? We are going to the yoga mat now. It doesn't require much space. Only 6 by 3. That's all what we need. From the bhoga mat, we are moving to the yoga mat. So what shall we do? Of course, yoga mat, I told you, you can sit quiet for some time. Just quiet. With your eyes closed or open, doesn't matter. Even if you open your eyes, you can focus inward or with your eyes closed, in the right posture, etc., etc. I'm not going into all those details. You all know that. So now we are moving to the yoga mat. And the yoga mat, what are you dealing with? You are dealing with your chitta, your mind. We are moving little away from the objects of the world. We have no idea about consciousness, which is the underlying principle of everything. We have no idea about that. But we know our mind, because our mind is suffering. And we have a big load of knowledge, information load from everywhere. We don't know how to process it and how to create wisdom. So let us look into the mind. That's what we are going to do now. Let us look into the mind. To look into the mind, you have to sit quiet for some time. That's what which make you look to your own mind. Do you know you have a mind? If you don't mind, you have a mind. Because we are in our hurry, our life is so busy. What are we busy about? I told you. Eat, mate, fight, and die. That's all we are busy. Nothing more than that. Nothing more. So therefore, let us sit down for some time and look into our own mind. So mind seems to be the site, the ground, where all these battles take place. The knowledge making, suffering. The more knowledge, more suffering. Isn't it? The more knowledge you get. Suppose you have a toothache. Then you go into the Google. The nature of the toothache, how many people have toothache in the world? 1 million people have a toothache. And what is that? The more knowledge is more, and which doctor I should approach, what kind of specialist I should approach. And he is going to poke me with the needle. And that needle, when I think the long needle, my suffering increases. My God, you are able to create more suffering for yourself. So more knowledge means more suffering, more anxiety, more tension, more suspicion. My God, life will become very miserable. So let us look into this mind. Who manufacture all this knowledge, suffering, enmity, iniquity, all that. So therefore, second sutra, Patanjali, that's how we begin Patanjali. I have gone all over and coming back to the beginning. Let us start from the beginning. So Patanjali said, Atha yoga anushasanam. Now are you ready for yoga is the question. Otherwise, on the yoga mat, a telephone comes, you will jump. Or your mind is thinking about various things. How many people are doing yoga? Am I the only person who is doing yoga? Then it's not worth it. If 3 million people do yoga, then I will do that. Isn't it? So this way, on the yoga mat, you won't get any peace at all. So with this understanding, now you have become a Viveki. You know what are you searching for. Where to look to understand your suffering. So you have to look into our own mind. So Atha yoga anushasanam. Now begin the instructions of yoga. What is yoga? I titled the lecture Mind Management. Yoga is mind management. Understanding the mind. And how do you understand the mind? By looking into the mind. By watching the mind. Instead of reacting, just watch. Take a breath, as they say. Instead of immediately reacting, just watch the mind. So, Atha yoga anushasanam, yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. So, we all are convinced that this dukkha can be removed, can be eliminated. Heyam dukkham, Patanjali says. Dukkha has to be removed. Anagatam dukkham. Dukkha which is going to happen, we have to remove this. And Patanjali gives some techniques which I will explain in due course whenever it comes. One technique says pratiprasavaha. Pratiprasavaha heyaha sukshmaha. If your suffering is caused by your unconscious habits and all that, pratiprasava is necessary. Pratiprasava means regression. We will analyze it later. You have to regress a little bit. Regress means go deep into the mind. If it is very obvious, then meditation is recommended. Practices are recommended. And then Pratipaksha Bhavana. 3 things Patanjali recommend. Pratipaksha Bhavana, Pratiprasava, and Dhyana. We'll be seeing that. But we all agree that we have to remove this suffering and it can be removed. And the site of the suffering is the mind, Chitta. So please understand, Chitta is different from Chitta. So, let us look into the mind. Yogaha, Chitta Vritti, Nirodha. How do I look into the mind? Better you close your eyes and sit in the right posture. That is why you look into the mind. So generally in the name of looking into the mind, we chant the mantras, we watch your breath, we watch our body sensations. That's how we slowly go into the depth of the mind. Sit properly, no motion. If it itself will take time, isn't it? When we sit, the problem is, we feel mosquitoes are landing on your nose or ants are crawling over or telephone is ringing. Telephone is not ringing, it's ringing in your mind. Telephone is not ringing. Your mind creates that. So all kind of distraction or somebody knocking on the door. So you have to sit, which itself will take it. So Patanjali says, to watch your mind, you have to do first asana. Asana pranayama. Asana is necessary. An ability to sit quiet without twiddling or making knots on your dhoti or digging into your nose or pulling your hair. We do all this. I have seen in my meditation classes. When the meditation begins, they are facing me. At the end of it, they are facing the other side. Isn't it? So therefore, this itself takes time to learn to sit quite physically quiet. Then deepening your breath takes time. Chanting mantras takes time. Then you will be able to look into your mind. That's why Patanjali says, asana pranayama pratyaharam. Pratyahara is watching the mind. We'll be seeing it little later. Because for the time being, just watch your mind without reacting, without acting. So you create a gap between stimulus and response. Because mind is constantly bombarded with the stimulus. Stimuli. Bombarded with the stimuli. Either memory explodes into your mind or a sensation comes to your mind. Therefore, that mind is to be watched. Yoga, chitta vritti, Patanjali used the word nirodha. I've given you some meaning for nirodha: watching, non-reacting, managing the mind, avoiding immediate reactions, which is difficult because you think unless I immediately react, then I will not become the winner. I will not win the battle. Immediately I have to react. Can you pause a little and see how the universe guides you? How the Lord guides you in a better way. But we don't have the patience, nor do we have the trust. So this ability to watch your mind. When you watch your mind without reaction, then a miracle happens. What is that miracle? Patanjali says, tada drishtuhu surube avasthanam. So this particular sutra, Yoga Chitta Vritti, the entire other 194 sutras are an explanation of this sutra. So we'll be seeing that in the forthcoming lectures. So to begin with, ability to watch the mind without judging, non-judgmental watching. Non-judgmental, non-reactive watching. Only on the seat of the asana and the yoga mat. Once you're out of the yoga mat, you can react. You do whatever you want. But I am going to give you a taste of that state of mind which is full of bliss and joy. Then I am sure you will not give up that state of mind. So on the seat of yoga mat, you are experimenting. That's a laboratory. That's your laboratory. So you are sitting. So you are neither reacting nor judging. Our life is full of judgment. The moment you see someone, you judge him or her. Oh, she is good, she is bad, she is this, she is that. Isn't it? And so many words are there. He is a communist, he is a capitalist, he is a this sadist or a masochist or that. So many words are there to give labels to people. And they give labels to you also. So these labels are fighting. Not real people. They are not interacting. So when you watch your mind this way, some miracle happens. What is that miracle? Patanjali says, third sutra, tada drishtuhu surube avasthanam. Then you come to abide in your real nature. You come to taste the wellspring, the nectar or the wellsprings of the spirit. Something miraculous happened. Some people say, Swamiji, nothing happened. I sat there and I went to sleep. No miracle happen. But you need patience. Miracles don't happen that easily. You need some patience. You have to sit like that. Do this pranayama. Do the mantra. Deepen your awareness. Then some miracle happens, but we have no patience. The wee hours of the morning, you lost your patience and you missed the visitation of God. That's the same. Therefore, you have to be patient. Patience pays. Impatient, you have to pay. That is what we are doing now. We keep paying for our impatience. So Patanjali's promise is tada drishtuhu surube avasthanam. Then you jump out of the mind. Or you deepen your mind. Jumping out may be a wrong expression. That is just to excite you. You deepen the understanding, awareness. And then tada. What is the nature of the drishta? The seer, the drishta, the seer. Nature is consciousness, happiness, and love. That's the nature of that drishta. So you get access to that well springs of love and happiness and that oceanic consciousness. It happens. If you don't do this, what is the problem? If you don't develop this awareness, if you don't do this, tada drishtuhu sarube avasthanam vritti sarupyam idaratra. Otherwise, you will be in this vrittis. Vrittis means this constant change, the sea of change. Vritti. Vritti sarupyam idara. Vritti means this continuous movement, change. That happens on the level of the mind, side of the mind. Because mind is like a sea, it's continuously changing. Isn't it? Mind is never the same. It keeps on changing. Now you love, now you hate, now you adore, now you ignore. Isn't it? Constantly changing. So you fall into this sea of change, which is called vritti. Vritti means modification of the mind. So you are identified sarupyam. You are identified and suffer along with the vrittis. So 3 sutras, very important. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Tada drishtuhu sarube avasthanam. Vritti sarupyam idaratra. So these 3 sutras are very important, and the rest of the sutras are explanation of these 3 sutras. So we will be going into this detailed understanding of this. I hope you have got some insight into what Patanjali is going to explain. Some insight. These 3 pillars of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Tada drishtuhu sarube avasthanam. Vritti sarupyam idaratra. So this vritti, what is this vritti? That's what we are going to do. Vritti is the modification of the mind. And we are identified with this modification. Because we have lost our mooring from the self. When you lose your mooring from the self, your roots, then you are headlong, falling into this vritti, this turbulent mind. What are the vrittis? Vrittis sarupyam. Patanjali said there are 5 vrittis. 5 states of mind, 5 vrittis of the mind. What are these 5 vrittis? One is, a vritti is called knowledge. So vritti sarupyam idaratra. Now we are to do vrittayaha panchatayaha. That is the next sutra. Vrittayaha pancha. There are 5 vrittis, 5 modifications of the mind. And all these 5 modifications, what are these 5 modifications? Patanjali says, pramana, viparya, and pramana, viparya, vikalpa, Nidra Smrudayaha. I'm talking about your own mind. If you don't mind. I'm talking about your own mind. Don't say I am talking about something else. So this mind undergoes 5 modifications continuously, constantly. As it interacts with the world, of course. And mind cannot escape from the world. Because both are made up of trigunas. So it cannot escape. So as the mind interacts with the world, there are 5 vrittis, 5 modes of the mind. And these 5 modes are reflected in consciousness. So we can call it 5 pratyayas also. 5 knowledges. 5 pratyayas. What are these 5 now? One vritti, Patanjali says, vrittayaha panchatayaha. One vritti is pramana. Pramana means right knowledge. As you interact with the world, sometimes you get the right, you hit the right thing. Oh, this is it. Right knowledge. Do you get right knowledge? Now you are listening to me. Is it right or wrong knowledge? I hope you are listening to me properly. So that's right. At least you are saying me. This is right knowledge. But when you look at me, you think, oh, as a ghost has come. Then that is wrong knowledge. So, when you interact with the world, sometimes you get right knowledge because you open your eyes and see things, touch things, taste things. This is called right knowledge. Where the vritti is corresponding to the objects outside. If you see a pot, it creates pot vritti in the mind. You take the correct picture of the object. Please understand, it requires a little bit of reflection. So when I see a pot or a tree or a man or a woman, my mind assumes that particular form, image. Like even when you throw a stone into water, it creates ripples. Similarly, an object falling into the mind creates ripples, or it takes the image of the object, which shines in consciousness. Then you say, I know the object. Is that clear to you? So one mode of mind is real, clear, right knowledge. Right knowledge is gained in 3 ways. One, using your apparatus, your sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, etc. Or using your inference, power of reasoning. You can create knowledge. The classic example is, when I see smoke, I infer there is fire. Isn't it? That's called knowledge through inference. And aptavakya. Aptavakya means words of experts, knowledgeable people. They also, you can gain, most of our knowledge is gathered from books and libraries and teachers, isn't it? Or wise men. The knowledge gained from wise people, experts, knowledge gained from your sense organs, and knowledge gained through inference. These are the 3 sources of knowledge. Sometimes you get correct knowledge. And when you act upon it, then you create desired outcomes. Correct knowledge. You have to act upon that. And if you create a desired outcome, that knowledge is correct. So that is one mode of mind. The other mode of mind when it interacts with the world is called viparyam, wrong knowledge. Isn't it? Most of the time we get wrong knowledge. President Bush thought that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, isn't it? And he went into Iraq. And he searched all over. There was no weapons. But in the process, so many people died, so much money is wasted, so many people suffered. So sometimes you can act on wrong knowledge and create more misery also. And most of the time you do that. About people you have wrong knowledge. About situations you have wrong knowledge. That's a mode of mind. Where the vritti doesn't correspond to the object. Seeing a rope, you take it as a snake, isn't it? Or seeing a snake, you take it as a rope. Both are possible. So if you have some patience, then you get a better understanding of the person, the situation. So sometimes mind labors under wrong knowledge. For you to analyze which are the situations where you labored under wrong knowledge. The classic example. This man, went to the market entrusting the baby with the dog. Because dog is a protector. When he come back, he saw some blood on the dog's mouth. And he got said, dog bit my son, my baby, and without verifying it, he just killed the dog. And when he came back, there was a dead snake. Because the blood came from the snake, because the dog bit the snake. Wrong knowledge. So most of the time, and there are a lot of times, we act on wrong knowledge. That is one state of mind. Because there is disconnect between the object and the vritti. Consciousness illumines it. Now there is imaginary knowledge. For all this, Patanjali have got sutras. At the end of it, I will read it just for your understanding. Then there is imaginary knowledge. You imagine things which are not there. So wrong knowledge and imaginary knowledge are different. Wrong knowledge means you see an object but you don't see it as it is. Imaginary knowledge means there is no object but you imagine. Isn't it? Sometimes we do that. We imagine things which are not there. Verbal imagination. Or your own past experience, based on that you create something which is not there. Suppose you had an uncle who had a big nose and he used to pinch it. Sometimes, these people get a pressure by pinching children. They get a big nose. Thereafter, when you grew up, wherever you see a man with a big aquiline nose, you think he is a torturer. Because you transpose this experience to all other situations, which is not healthy. So you imagine things. Sometimes imagination is good. You can create things out of imagination. It can lead to confusion, illusion also. It's a double-edged sword. Imaginary knowledge. And haven't you labored under these imaginations? Sometimes you imagine something and then you react. And later you realize, I made a fool of myself. Imaginary knowledge. So how many type of vrittis are there? Right knowledge, wrong knowledge, imaginary knowledge, and then no knowledge, nidra. You are encountering something, you don't know what it is. No knowledge. I don't know. Generally ask, do you know Chinese? Do you know Chinese? I don't know. What is that state of mind when you say I don't know? Do you know English? Yes, I know. What is that state of mind? Do you know Chinese? I don't know. What is that state? That also you know, isn't it? That I don't know. That you know. I know, I don't know. Otherwise it is difficult. That also can guide your action. Certain things I don't know, so I should not be there. I should keep my mouth shut. Isn't it? So, there is a state of mind where you don't know. That's how we express, I don't know. I know, I don't know. Nidra, that's called nidra. In deep sleep, you don't know anything. And that also influences your action. And finally, smridayaha, memory. Memory knowledge. You may think, why should I know all this? I should simply sit down and chant some mantra. Not enough. Not enough. That will only create more ignorance, more suffering for you. Mantras are important, but it is important provided you understand all this. So these are the 5. And memory knowledge. Memory also is a storehouse of knowledge. And you act on that. You act on your memories. Most of the time we act on that. And create misery also. So what are the 5 vrittis, states of mind? Pramana, Viparya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smridaya. Right knowledge, wrong knowledge, imaginary knowledge, no knowledge, and memory knowledge. Is there any other state of mind in you or you? I may ask. I challenge you. There is no other state in your mind. These are the only 5 states under which we are operating. Now, I say, I love my baby. I love my child. I love my country. That also is a state of mind. And you know it. Without your knowledge, you cannot say that. So these are the 5 states of the mind, vrittis. And these vrittis lead to 2 experiences. What are the 2 experiences? Klishta, klishtacha. Painful and pleasure. This knowledge lead to painful and pleasurable experience, isn't it? What else is there? Ultimately, it is pain or pleasure. That knowledge is pleasure. Oh, my son did well in the examination. Pleasure, isn't it? Then you come to it was not your son, it was neighbor's son. Pain. You take all this, everything. All this state of mind leads to 2 experiences, pleasure and pain. Klishta, klishta. Later Patanjali will say, even this pleasure leads to pain. Right? Now what will I do with this state of mind? Finally, where are you now? The mind is in a state of pain, suffering. Now Patanjali says, so should I read the sutras for you? Yes, I'll read the sutras. Vrittayaha panchatayaha klishta klishtascha pramana viparya vikalpa nidra smridayaha. Pramana viparya vikalpa nidra smridayaha. Pramana means right knowledge. Pramana, viparya means wrong knowledge. Vikalpa means imaginary knowledge. Nidra means non-knowledge. And smridaya means memory knowledge. Now he says, pratyakshanuman agamaha pramanani. Right knowledge. Sources of right knowledge is pratyaksha, use your sense organs. Anumana, use your inference, rational reasoning capacity. And aptavakya, ragama. Listen to wise people. Viparya mithya jnanam atadrupa pratishtam. Viparya means mithya jnanam, wrong knowledge. What is wrong knowledge? Seeing something other than what it is. Seeing a rope as a snake. That is called mithya jnana. Shabda jnananuvadi vastu shunyo vikalpaha. Vikalpa is a construct of words, memories, and where there is no object there. You create, you know, hallucination, illusions and all that. Abhava pratyalambana vrittihi nidra. Nidra means abhava pratyam. I don't know. I don't see it. That's state of mind. Anubhuta vishaya asampramoshaha smritihi. Memory is the deposit, sediment that is left by a past experience. Past knowledge leads its sediment in your mind, and that keeps manifesting later. These are the 5 vrittis of the mind. And all of them finally lead to pain and pleasure. And pleasure leads to pain. So what is the balance sheet of your life now? Tell me. We all are 70, 60, 80 or 90. What is the balance sheet? At the end of the day, you have traveled all over the world and you did this, did that, made a lot of money, power, name, fame. What is the balance sheet, sir? Nothing much to talk about, he says. Nothing much to talk about. That's the balance sheet of life. Now, how do I manage this mind? Or how do I chitta nirodham, restraining the mind? The mind is galloping like a unrestrained horse or a motorbike without any brake. How do I restrain this mind? And everybody is trying to overtake me. I myself are going to the ditch. Everybody is trying to overtake me. This is what is happening. We all are going to collective suicide now. Ecological problem, health issues, atom bombs, hydrogen bombs, all these kind of things. Insecurities, national insecurity, individual insecurities, Russia's insecurity, China's insecurity, India's insecurity, Pakistan insecurity. Anyway, all kind of insecurity. We are in a collective suicide pattern. We have to do something. Somebody has to start from somewhere. Move on to the yoga mat, he says. Put in on the yoga mat. Something has to be done. So he says, Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. I told you, the key word in Patanjali is vairagya. I told you in the very beginning, first lecture. The key word is vairagya. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. What is abhyasa? What is abhyasa? Tatra sthido yatnaha abhyasa. Abhyasa is an effort to abide in yourself. Be comfortable with yourself. What is that self? Patanjali has said, Nitya Suji Sukha Atma. Try to be happy all the time. That's abhyasa. In spite of all that is happening in our life. There's nothing which can make me happy, but still I am moving against the flood, against the current. Abhyasam. Every day go to the bathroom and look into the mirror and pull your chin toward the ears and learn to smile, he says. Abhyasam. You have to do this abhyasa. There is no other way in the world, I do. Whatever you may do. You may cover yourself with all the riches in the world. I may be sitting on the highest power of authority still. Abhyasa vairagya. That is one abhyasa. Then vairagya. Vairagya means detach, observe, unclutch, detach. Detachment does not mean you are running away. You are watching. You are patient. You are allowing things to unfold in their own rhythm and energy. Giving a long rope, as they say. Letting things settle by itself. You are not hurrying a solution to the problem. Every problem has its own innate solutions. So that's called Vairagya is Visheshena Ragam. Vikata Ragam. Two meanings are there. Raga means you are not clinging to that object. Vikata Ragam. Visheshena Ragam, the right kind of relationship with objects, people, situations. Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam. So this Vairagya is a very key word. And Patanjali keeps on analyzing what is this Abhyasa Vairagya. Abhyasa, as I told you, Tatra Sthido Yatnaha Abhyasa. Try to be happy, try to be happy, try to be fearless, try to be loving, try to be conscious all the time. Try. I am tired of trying. You cannot. Because as you try, you get more and more momentum and energy. You cannot be tired of trying being happy. I'm tired of being happy. I'm yet to hear someone who says that. I am tired of pleasures, I can understand. I am tired of loving. I have not yet seen a person. You cannot be tired of loving. You cannot be tired of being conscious because there is no effort in being conscious. No muscles have to be moved to be conscious. So make that effort. So then he says, this abhyasa, this what you are trying to be happy, sadhu dirgha kala nairandarya sakkara sevida dudha bhumi. You can gain effortless abidance in this state by continuous practice. Daily, lovingly, carefully, you have to do this. Of course, you feel I'm not making progress, but continue to do that. And suddenly you find a quantum leap, a qualitative change. It takes time. When you plant a seedling or a sapling, every day don't uproot it and see whether it has stuck roots. Give it some time. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena tu grihyate. Isn't it? So make that effort. And then, so what is vairagya? Drishtanusravika vishaya vidarshanasya vashigara sajna vairagya. Vairagya is a certain detached attitude towards what you see, what you hear. Drishtam anusravika vishayam. A lot of objects, what you hear about, see, people are talking to you, all those things tempt you, corrupt you. You think my happiness is there. Always understand, your happiness is not there. So take only what is minimally necessary. Share with your neighbor. Leave for your children and grandchildren. This is called vairagya. You are not hoarding everything and throwing away. I have seen people hoarding everything in the fridge and they cannot consume it and throw it away. Isn't it? So, take it minimally. Share with them. Leave something for children and grandchildren. For your rainy days, as they say. So this way, if you can watch, observe, and detach, and minimalize things, that is called Drishtanusravika Vishaya Vidarshanasya Vashigara Saknya. As a result of that, you gain certain power over the mind and over the environment also. Nothing can tempt you, corrupt you, immoralize you. You are a dignified and self-rooted, self-confident person. As a result of this, so Patanjali just quickly gives you an overview of yoga. Then he will go to the details. As a result of this, what happens? Param Purusha Gyadehe Guna Vaidrishya. You come to realize who you are actually. Param Purusha Gyade. Gyade means not. You come to realize who you are. And not only that, Guna Vaidrishyam. You are able to detach, you are able to play with the gunas, your mind. Play with the gunas. At this point, the gunas is playing. You become a victim of the gunas. Now you become a master of the gunas. What are the gunas? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. What is Sattva? Ability to reflect. What is Rajas? Ability to act. What is Tamas? Ability to keep quiet. So you know when to be reflective, when to be active, when to remain quiet. That's it. Actually, unfortunately, we don't have that ability. When you have to be quiet, you are active. When you have to be active, you are reflective. That is not the time to reflect, you have to act. So we are doing everything in the wrong way. Doing everything, but all wrong way. So now you know when to be quiet, when to be active, when to be reflective. These are the three energies. You become a master of your environment. So that because now you've got a place to stand and look, a stable place, which is yourself. Then you are able to look to your mind and play in the world very efficiently. You are able to use these tools, the body, mind, ego complex is a tool with which you can interact with the world and harvest experience, process it properly, and be a happy, creative, interactive person. That's what we want to ultimately. So, tada param purusha khyadehe gunavaidrishya. Now, okay, this is a quick overview of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Now we will go to, now I think I have sold you this idea, isn't it? Now you have become a devotee of Patanjali now. I want to know more about this. In between I slipped, I didn't understand what you said, but now I am excited about it. I am excited. Here is excitement now. Now let us go to the details. Patanjali's details will go. Next week I'll be talking about enlightenment in everyday life. Enlightenment is not just on the mat. It can be moment to moment. While you are working, while you are traveling, while you are every situation, you can be enlightened. That's the promise, which we shall be discussing in the next class, enlightenment in everyday life. Thank you very much. Hari Om.